From Ticker News with Aaron Young, this is Ticker Today.
Hello, thanks so much for joining me. President Trump accuses Vladimir Putin of playing with fire as peace talks with Ukraine now break down. Tensions soar and new sanctions could be on the way for Moscow. The US military ramps up its Pacific presence, deploying the advanced Nemesis missile system in the Philippines to counter China's growing influence. Explosive courtroom claims as a former executive says Sean Diddy Combs kidnapped her at gunpoint. The hip-hop mogul faces mounting legal pressure. SpaceX sets its sights on Mars. Elon Musk targets a new launch window despite setbacks and high-stakes engineering hurdles. And Nvidia now preparing to report surging profits, but experts warn the AI boom may be fueling a climate crisis as energy demands spike. You are watching Ticker Today, the latest news and business moving the world. Let's get started. All right, but first today, President Trump expressing frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin, stating he is playing with fire as peace talks with Ukraine now stall. Trump is considering additional sanctions against Moscow, which could be announced as early as this week. Recent Russian attacks on Ukraine have heightened the tensions, with Trump acknowledging Russia is causing significant casualties. As negotiations now falter, Trump contemplates abandoning peace efforts altogether, influenced by his views on both Putin and the Ukrainian President Zelensky. On Truth Social, the president posting, "What Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia, and I mean really bad. He is playing with fire." King Charles has officially opened Canada's Parliament, marking the first time a British monarch has done so in nearly 70 years. In his speech, he acknowledged the critical challenges Canada now faces, particularly amid shifting international relations and threats to its sovereignty. The King praising Canada's commitment to democracy and freedom, highlighting the importance of maintaining strong global trade partnerships. Here he is.
Today, Canada faces another critical moment. Democracy, pluralism, the rule of law, self-determination, and freedom are values which Canadians hold dear, and ones which the government is determined to protect. The system of open global trade that, while not perfect, has helped to deliver prosperity for Canadians for decades, is changing. Canada's relationships with partners are also changing.
Now, following the King's visit, Charles is set to return to the UK after spending 2 days in Canada. A former executive from Sean Combs' business claims he kidnapped her at gunpoint and threatened her life. Capricorn Clark has broken down in court, alleging Combs assaulted her and destroyed her career. She describes terrifying encounters with him, including threats of violence from the first day she worked for him back in 2004. Combs, facing federal sex charges and trafficking charges, as well as racketeering, denies all allegations against him. The United States has deployed a new missile system in the Philippines to enhance its military capabilities in the Pacific. The Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System, known as Nemesis, is an anti-ship missile launcher mounted on a remote-controlled truck. The system enables Marines to launch high-precision missiles from land, complicating decision-making and adversaries for China, improving the US response in the region. The deployment reflects a broader strategy to strengthen military readiness and coordination with the Philippines amid rising tensions. SpaceX is preparing for a significant test flight of its Starship rocket following previous explosions that halted progress earlier this year. The company is reallocating resources and personnel to meet a target of launching an uncrewed mission to Mars next year amid ongoing engineering challenges. SpaceX also plans a rocket cargo mission for the Air Force, aiming to use Starship to transport large amounts of gear worldwide. As part of its Mars ambitions, SpaceX explores in-orbit refueling, a complex undertaking crucial for future deep space missions. Richard Boyle, an Australian Taxation Office whistleblower, has pleaded guilty to 4 charges in South Australia's District Court. The charges include disclosing protected information, using a listening device to record private conversations, and recording a tax file number without consent. Boyle initially faced 66 charges, many of which were later dropped. He is due back in court in August for a pre-sentence hearing, as concerns are now raised about the adequacy of whistleblower protection laws in Australia. Nvidia is reporting its earnings this week with expectations of strong growth due to rising demand for AI infrastructure. Analysts projecting positive results, which could influence AI stock markets, as Nvidia controls a significant share of the AI chip. However, environmental concerns now are rising as the company requirements for AI chip making increases, particularly in East Asia, where fossil fuels are dominating. Experts stress the importance of using sustainable energy sources for data centers to reduce the environmental impact of the expanding AI industry. So the markets and stocks are rising sharply as the Dow Jones gains over 740 points, ending a four-day decline. Here's how things look. The S&P 500, the Nasdaq also significant increases, driven by strong performances from tech firms like Tesla. It follows President Trump's decision to postpone EU tariffs, boosting investor confidence. And looking ahead, traders are awaiting earnings reports from key companies, with the majority of S&P 500 firms reporting positive results this session. And Trump Media has announced plans to raise $2.5 billion from institutional investors to support significant Bitcoin investments. Shares of the company declined by 10% as a result. The initiative marks a transition for the firm from a social platform to a player in financial services, with funds aimed at purchasing Bitcoin as a key asset. The company is partnering with Anchorage Digital and also Crypto.com for its Bitcoin holdings, and preparing to launch exchange-traded funds featuring both crypto and traditional securities later on this year.